Hey folks, this is Waylon. 3 mindful tips. We do them every Friday. So on our YouTube channel, just now I discussed anti-Semitism, othering, hate, prejudice, ignorance. So here, the first mindful tip, since anti-Semitism, somewhat thankfully, somewhat awfully, and horribly, is in the news yet again, thanks to some hateful, ignorant people with platforms. And we have a platform, so we want to use it for good things like education and community, kindness, empathy, getting through our own BS, our own neurosis, and hugging others, all others, whether they're in Iran, whether they're trans or gay, Jewish, woman, all of us, person of color, indigenous, all of us disabled, all of us need to keep it simple, come together and connect with our own hearts. That's the Buddhist notion of Maitri. So the first tip is the way to begin educating ourselves out of othering others, out of hate, out of ignorance, is to make friends with our own heart. Because as long as we're trying to shovel gold, we're trying to steal gold from the whole world, we're trying to exploit others in the whole world and shovel that into the vacuum in our heart, as we can see from the example of Donald J. Trump, that will never be filled. It's never enough. It can only sort of survive or continue by filling it with more and more gold, to the point where you have a gold toilet and you're still not happy. You're still a jerk. You're still wildly sensitive and insecure. So you can go the Donald J. Trump route and kind of be consumed by self-perpetuating hate, which is no fun, really. You're really loved by no one, even those closest to you are close to you, trying to get something from you or because of fear. Or you can go the other way and make friends with yourself. So that is the first tip. Maitri, making friends with yourself. Maitri means loving kindness. Is hard work. It's another way of translating that is, as Trungpa Rinpoche, my parents' Buddhist teacher, said, is Om Grow Up Svaha. He called that the ultimate mantra. Just growing up is hard work. And part of growing up is learning to open up even when you feel vulnerable and scared and awkward. And that's a fancy way of saying empathy. Brene Brown talks about that. Pema Chodron talks about that. A lot of wise, peaceful people who do love a lot of things and love a lot of people and are loved by a lot of things and people tend to talk about kindness. There's a beautiful quote that's from Christianity. I don't think it's from the Bible, but it's from the Christian tradition that is something like, I can see your relationship to God by how kind you are. And as we can see with a lot of so-called Christians, that simple lesson gets lost. So if we want to be close to God or close to nature or close to love, we have to be kind to ourselves, kind to others. All of that sounds super simple, but it's radical stuff. And it's also a great efficiency tip, because if you want to waste your whole life and all your energy, like where do these people get the time and the energy to be so hateful? You can save all that time and energy and love one another. And that is in the Bible. So whether it's in the Bible or not, I'm certainly not Christian, but I have respect for loving Christians. I have respect for loving anyone. We need to engage in making friends with ourselves. And making friends with ourselves is tricky because there's parts of ourselves, you'll see this in dating apps or social media, that we like about ourselves. And then we exploit that part, whether it's that we have great cleavage or a really handsome jawline or whatever it is, big guns. We start exploiting and showing that off. That also kind of comes from a lack of being humble or just being genuine friends with ourselves. So Maitri is making friends with the parts of ourselves that we do like and we want to show off and exploit, and the parts of ourselves that we don't like and that we're ashamed about and that we're embarrassed about. So, I have wrinkles, I have thinning hair, those are parts I need to make friends with. But the parts of myself that I admire or like and I want to exploit and show off, I also have to make friends with that. So is an actual practice. It's not just advice in an Instagram video. It's an actual practice. So if you go to Elephant, you search Maitri, Maitri, you can actually begin to practice that. And that's what I would recommend. That is some powerful stuff. It's changed and has saved my life many times over. That, believe it or not, is tip number one. Tip number two, let's talk about anti-Semitism. So my name isn't Waylon Lewis. My grandfather changed his last name from like Leplovich to Lewis just so he could do business in New York. My grandparents, my Jewish grandparents, their entire life was informed by anti-Semitism. Their entire worldview was informed by just trying to sort of survive and get by in a world that hated them, that called them, Christ killer, or how do you kiss with a nose that big, and all those kind of things. And while a lot of that blatant anti-Semitism we thought was fading away, people like Trump, again, people who kind of make their energy out of hate and aggression, have renewed that. Social media has fanned the flames of those people. And as we're seeing in the news this week, anti-Semitism, Holocaust denialism is alive and not well. It's alive and sick as F. And I hope this is a lesson to all of you, because when I have talked about anti-Semitism in the past years, my own friends, my own Facebook community, I have these big social media communities with Elephant Journal, my own friends in social communities have dismissed anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism isn't real. You need to get off of it. You're privileged. You look white. And that is true. I have white passing privilege. So it's subtle, it's nuanced, but it's not that complicated. Prejudice in any form, sexism, racism, otherism, anti-immigrant, anti-trans, whatever form it takes, is hate founded on ignorance. It's dependent on ignorance. So how do we dissolve prejudice and enter a lovely world of community? The world we thought we were going to get when we were kids, everyone holding hands and loving one another, including animals. Well, simply we have to dissolve that ignorance. So yes, prejudice is complicated, nuanced, comes in many forms, but it's also simple. It's hate founded on prejudice. It's otherism, and we dissolve it by doing the work of educating ourselves. And that work is never done. We have to take interest in kind of uncovering, like compost, all that poop, all that fertilizer, get in there and get some sunshine in there and learn. So yeah, I actually have thought about changing my last name back. When I first found out, when I was a teenager, I was actually quite angry that my last name had been kind of stolen from me. And what turned out to make me okay with my last name, keeping my fake last name, Lewis, is my mother actually had Lewis's in her ancestry. So on my father's side, I'm Jewish. On my mother's side, I'm not Jewish. She's many different things: German, French, English, Welsh, Irish, Scottish, Swedish, many things. But on my father's side, Jewish. And that has its own level of, Aesop's fable about the bat, right? The Jews say I'm not Jewish enough, and wasps or whatever say you're not one of us. But I embrace the complexity, and I also come back to the simplicity, that I don't need to sort of legislate intellectually or emotionally legislate what I am and what I am not. I need to simply engage in being of benefit, in learning and doing the work to unpack my own blind spots and prejudices and hate and ignorance. And that's what Elephant is for. So if you're inspired, please write. elephantjournal.com/post. Anti-Semitism is stupid. You have to do so much work to create this edifice of the Holocaust didn't happen and Jews are evil and in control of everything against mountains and mountains of evidence. And while there may be pieces of truth to some of what you're, piecing together, just like flat earth theory or whatever, or anti-vax or whatever conspiracy theory du jour that you're into, it's a lot of, you're doing a lot of intellectual and moral weightlifting because it's not actually true. So if we just keep it simple and get back to what is true with an open mind, then we can engage in that radical thing called empathy and love. And that is so much more fun. That's it. We don't need to be some crazy woke fantasy, hot flash of Ron DeSantis. We don't need to be a hateful, prejudiced person. We can just unpack our own lack of self-love and our own prejudice. And then we can live in a world that is like fun to live in, that is more equitable for all of us. We can get there. I really believe that. But it can be awfully discouraging along the way. So the third tip, I don't know. There's so many different tips. We do 3 mindful tips every Friday. Is there a suggestion, a topic someone would love to hear about? I'm taking requests. I'm sort of like a garage band. I'm taking requests. We already played Freebird. Does anyone want to hear about a topic? It could be wildly different. It could be about food, organics, plastic, shopping local for the holidays. That's a good one. Instead of Amazon. Composting. All right. Let's talk about composting. My compost container is right over here in the kitchen. You probably can see it. You probably can see it. It's that little, how do I point at it? It's that little white bucket. Anyway, 80% of our landfill is compost. Landfill, which we don't think about, out of sight, out of mind, is bad, right? People are throwing away good furniture, bad furniture, plastic clothing, old clothing. This is actually wool, but they're throwing everything away, and then it sits there forever, and then it creates methane, which basically is like poison for us and the planet. And then we cook our planet, and then like in Boulder, 1,000 homes burned down at the end of December last year because of effing climate crisis, and we're going through droughts and floods and heat waves, and it's super annoying, and we're breaking our planet for all future generations. So one of the many pieces of this, in case that feels overwhelming, you break it down and you can have fun with it. Composting is one of those little things you can have fun with. People in Vermont now, there's a company that goes around, this sounds crazy, but the more you think about it, the less crazy it sounds. It's crazy what we're doing now. There's a company that literally drives trucks around, big like old water container in the back, and they collect people's pee from cisterns that people are collecting, and people are making money off of their own pee. And then with that pee, they dilute it, and then they use that as fertilizer. If you think that's gross, you know how we're growing food in America right now? It's with fertilizer. It's usually toxic chemicals, and at best, hopefully, it's animal poop and pee. And it's mixed up, stuff is done with it, so it's safe. It's not as gross as it sounds. But, fertilizer from animals and humans is an age-old, beautiful thing that doesn't have to be toxic. It becomes toxic with factory farming, and that's why farmers have to then buy toxic chemical fertilizer. Nitrogen, which further cooks our planet and breaks our planet for all future generations. If you're a right-winger and you're obsessed about getting rid of abortion rights, if you want to talk about saving lives, climate crisis is a great issue to get passionate about. It really is for any of us. And most of my own liberal hipstery friends or whatever don't care about climate. So it's something we all need to begin to care about. But compost is an easy one. Basically, you can look it up, simple, but You can't put plastic in there. You can't put meat or bones in there. I don't think you can put dairy products in there. You can put eggshells in there for sure. You can put basically any food and like genuine cardboard stuff. You can't even put pizza boxes in there, but you can put leaves in it. But just in your house, if you have a little compost, and if you're in an apartment, you don't have a yard, you can put it in a bag in the freezer and keep your compost frozen and then bring it to someone who has a garden. Or you could use it for your own plants, I guess, if you figured out how. And yeah, it's super easy. Then you're saving 80% of the stuff that we put in the landfill. 80% of landfill is compostable. The other huge thing to talk about with composting is out in the cities and the towns and the cafes and the country and everything, people are trying to compost. But most of you people are taking your plastic-lined coffee cups and you're just throwing whatever you want in the compost. I'm saying you people because I don't do that, because I respect the compost. You know, Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm? Do you respect wood? Do you respect compost? So we all need to learn to respect compost and only put compostable things in it. And then these restaurants and these stores and whatnot can actually compost their compost. Because if it's all mixed up with plastic or other stuff, then they have to throw it all away, all of it. And it's a big waste. Eggshells go directly into soil of citrus trees. There you go. Yeah, my mom would always take the eggshells and and put them in the garden. I'm vegan boy now, so I don't do those eggshells, but I think they're just straight up calcium. Yeah, Meyer lemon, etc. Leaves are fantastic. So iguana huntress, leaves or brown stuff. Basically, if you have a compost, we have articles on composting on Elephant, first of all. So if you're actually interested, go search how to compost on Elephant Journal. We have great videos and articles on it. And there's a million places you can find it. But if you support Elephant with reading, you're supporting independent media. We're one of the last big independent media websites that hasn't yet been crushed by Meta or whatever. So basically, you take like layers of food and then layers of brown. Brown can be paper bags. I think newspapers are okay. And leaves. Leaves are the best compost ever. I'm always talking about leaf blowers are super polluting, crazy polluting. I think one leaf blowing of your yard is like the equivalent of driving to Paris and back. Super toxic for the air, for children, for the planet. Electric leaf blowers are better. The best of all is that leaves are actually there for a reason. They're the blanket for nature. So if you take the leaves away, then nature gets cold. When it gets cold, leaves turn into this amazing compost. Another move you can do if you don't want the leaves around is you can mow them up, kind of grind them up and make them this sort of wonderful like salt and pepper, around your yard, and they'll enrich your yard. But grass is pretty overrated, and insects are dying rapidly, and birds and lots of animals are dependent on insects. So insects lay all their little babies in the leaves. So it's best not to mess with the leaves. Anyway, there's a lot there. We have articles on all this on Elephant, and this has been plenty long, and most of you are gone. So big love to you, and I'll do this every Friday. We also then put these on our podcast. You can look for the Elephant Journal podcast. We put them on the new Waylon Lewis YouTube channel, and thank you so much for hanging out with me. Big love. More love.